Don't ask why this is up Saturday. I will explain Monday.
And here is a cast from Ireland to tell you about the tragic sinking of the Lusitania last week.
This is Zach Cass reporting live from the Irish Channel today, May 15th, 1915, where tragically the British passenger ship Lusitania sank 10 days ago by a torpedo fired from a German U-20 submarine. The 785-foot-long, 31,950-ton ship was carrying 1,959 people. Over 1,198 were killed. 128 of them were American. Total of number of passengers on board was 1,257, and the ship had a crew of 702 people. Only 761 people survived. If I understand correctly, our U.S. President Woodrow Wilson is planning on declaring war on Germany because of this tragic loss. He would enter the war with the Allied powers to fight the Germans. I have an eyewitness here, Margaret Haig Thomas, who was on the ship when it was hit and sunk. So, Margaret, what happened?
I had just finished eating lunch. It was around 2 o'clock, and I had heard over the megaphone, torpedoes are coming on the starboard side, but nothing happened. Then the torpedo hit. It was like a crack of lightning. There were two, one in front of one of the other on the pier. Then the boat lost the power. The SOSs were only put on the battery pack.
Thank you, Margaret. Woodrow Wilson is furious. The ship was loaded with meat, medical supplies, copper, cheese, oil, and machinery. But the ship was also secretly loaded with munitions for the British Army, which is why the ship was hit and sunk. Because of the large consumption of coal, only 19 of the 25 boilers on board the Lusitania were firing. This limited their speed to 21 knots. U-boats can only travel at 13 knots. The British didn't even warn the Lusitania about the other ships that had sunk in the area, which totaled to 3. On the 7th of May, the Lusitania entered the Irish Channel for the last time. Captain Turner slowed the ship to 15 knots because of the fog. He then saw a ship called the Juno, who escaped being blown up by zigzagging. But Captain Turner only saw this as a waste of fuel and time. The torpedo was fired, heading for the Lusitania. One person, lookout Leslie Morton, saw the bubbles on the starboard side and over the megaphone hollered to the cabin that there was a torpedo on the starboard side. The captain didn't hear him. Then Thomas Quinn from a lookout box saw the torpedo and sounded the alarm. Captain Turner ran to the cabin. As soon as he got there, the torpedo detonated. Captain Turner tried to steer the ship to land and beach it, but the power was out and he couldn't steer it. The flood doors also couldn't close because the power was out on the ship. The Lusitania then proceeded to sink in 270 feet of water. The ship being 700 foot plus long, the bow sunk and the stern came up into the air. It continued to sink to the bottom of the ocean, its final resting place. From the German side, I have Captain Schwager, the commander of the U-20 submarine who fired the torpedo at the Lusitania. Captain Schwager, what was your orders?
I was ordered to sink the enemy ship, so I sank the enemy ship.
Can you tell me what happened?
Well, I was rounding the southward tip of Ireland on the May that I fired several shots, but could not get any. So I waited. I saw the small scooter of the Earl of Lockdown. I surfaced and warned my crew, and then I destroyed her via gunfire. The next day, I moved closer to Ireland and fired 2 torpedoes at the Captain Gate. 2 hours later, I destroyed another ship, the Centurion. My fuel was running low, so I decided to go against Liverpool, but to turn back. The next day, I saw the Juno, who could not destroy because it was zigzagging. Then I saw the ship, the Lusitania, and it was at the right angle to us. So I submerged and approached at 9 knots and waited. The ship was 700 meters away, so I turned 30 degrees, giving me a better shot. I fired one torpedo and I watched it sink and then continued back to Germany and arrived on the 13th of May.
Thank you, Schwager.
You're welcome. I hope you take the plane back.
From Ireland, Zach Cass with WZBC TV 5715. Your 5-day forecast coming up.
Alright guys, love you.